Ladies and gentlemen, after 7 consecutive green weekly candles and a 73% move to the upside, the big question remains on Bitcoin. Will we continue higher? Will Bitcoin utilize this massive volatility and utilize this massive power to surge all the way upwards to something like 48K? Or will we be rejected before we do that? That is the big question. But more importantly, how should we react to this market environment? I'm personally not buying here. I personally think buying here is driven by greed, not by the chart. And I personally think these prices will be revisited even if we go higher. Ladies and gentlemen, a few things to look at today, including the monthly chart, weekly chart, and daily chart, things that most people are not looking at. So guys, I'm going to show you what people are looking at today. Let's get into it. Let's get straight to business. We've seen Bitcoin place 7 consecutive weekly candle green closes, okay? Green weekly candle closes. That's a massive amount of strength on Bitcoin. And during that period of time and incorporating those closes with a few more closes in the past, we've seen a 70% move on Bitcoin without any significant correction whatsoever. In fact, the entirety of this move, as seen from something like a daily chart perspective, has been in one swift upwards trend with not a single lower high or lower low. 70% move upwards on Bitcoin with not a single hint of a correction. So in understanding that, that's a bit of context to how strong Bitcoin has been moving recently, but we need more context. We need the cyclical context, which we already have for the 4-year cycle, and more specifically, we need something to kind of dissect the shorter and medium term. We need the range-bound context. And the range-bound context is essentially looking at the major support and resistance levels and doing analysis based off that. Well, we can say we had this major resistance zone between 30K and 32K when we broke that to the upside after being suppressed below it for basically 8 months on Bitcoin. We saw the bulk of this move. We then have a level that we've just recently broken over the last couple of days between around 37.5K to 38.5K. Previously, some people have said, including myself, that this level extends to 40K. I'm not particularly convinced that is the case after we've seen the recent price action develop. I think it's actually 37.5 to 38.5. And the next major resistance level, okay, I'm talking major, I'm talking big resistance here. If we're looking at this chart, for example, we can go to weekly chart and we can just get a good view of it through the volume profile. Actually stems, I'll show you in a second here, actually stems at around 48K. Because if you're looking at where the next major block on the volume profile after the one we've just conquered is, it's up here at 48K, right? So technically speaking, the next major resistance zone from a range-bound perspective is actually up here between, let's say, 47.5K, where roughly it starts, and 48K. Somewhere around there, that's where the major resistance zone is to the upside. So these are our zones right now. These are our critical ranges. So we've got these two down here as support. We'll mark them in green. And we've got this one up here as resistance. It's in red. Now, this chart may lead you to believe that Bitcoin should be swooping all the way up to 48K before rejecting from there. I'm not overly convinced that will be the case. I think it's certainly a possibility. And the reason I think it's a possibility is because that is what the range-bound chart suggests. And that is the only reason alone that I think it's a possibility, really. But for all TA purposes, in short-term and medium-term TA, taking out the range-bound context, I think it's a bit of a stretch of the imagination to believe that Bitcoin will go much higher than it is right now without seeing a correction, without seeing some sort of pullback, seeing as we've had this 70% move to the upside. But I'm certainly acknowledging, as I have done in my last few videos, the possibility of Bitcoin going to 48K before seeing a significant correction. I think it is possible. I'm not discounting that by any means. I think it's possible purely because it's simply what the range-bound chart would suggest, but I don't think taking the range-bound chart as gospel is the best idea either. And for a lot of these reasons, and for reasons I listed yesterday, I'm personally not buying Bitcoin right now. And I think I labeled those reasons very clearly yesterday, but I'll label them again quickly. There's a few reasons, right? There's actually more than this, but these are the few core reasons. One reason is I do not buy Bitcoin after a 70% move to the upside without correction. I think that's completely counterlogical. Okay, that's ridiculous. I don't buy Bitcoin in a pump, not in a pump of this scale. I buy Bitcoin when there's a pullback to support. We haven't seen a pullback to support. We've only seen breaks of resistance, okay? And to say that I'm not buying Bitcoin now is also very important that you understand that doesn't mean I'm not in Bitcoin. I'm actually got an average price on Bitcoin down at 21K through very, 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 very public, transparent buys on this YouTube channel. Okay, so we bought Bitcoin on this YouTube channel upon the break of 18K. all right, which is the macro level after this low. That's where we first bought Bitcoin. We bought again upon the break of 21. We bought again upon the break of 24, and we bought again up here on the break of 32. So to act as though we're just sitting on thin air here, we haven't got any Bitcoin at all, is ridiculous. The fact of the matter is we buy, generally speaking, on reasonable size breakouts and mostly on pullbacks. So that's what we need to be looking at as well. But the reason I'm not buying Bitcoin now is because I don't buy into pumps. And I also know that the whole basis of my predictions on Bitcoin is based on the cyclical theory. And the cyclical theory suggests basically that we should be seeing a correction before the halving. That's what the cyclical theory suggests. And so in saying that, I'm acknowledging, well, the halving's 5 months away. We're going to see a correction before the halving. We're probably going to see a correction from somewhere we are right now at 42k, or potentially at a maximum a correction from something like 48k. If we see a correction from 48k, it's likely we'll go back to where we are right now. If we see a correction from here, it's likely we'll go lower to where we are now. So what's the point in buying right now? Because first of all, you're buying into a pump, which is trading 101. You're not meant to do that. And second of all, if we see the correction we're meant to see, which is the whole basis of our cyclical theory, we should go where we are at least, or lower. So there's no real reward in doing so. The only possible scenario in which Bitcoin surges to the upside continually past 48k on this single move without correction is if the ETF news manipulates the Bitcoin price even more than it's already done so. And I am personally of the belief that the ETF news at this point is being priced into the market, and that's why we're seeing this move upwards, and the actual event itself won't lead to that much more upwards move. So I hope that's clear. That's why I'm not buying Bitcoin right now. But I want to move forward with this analysis because I've already made that very clear in yesterday's video. We've established where the macro ranges are. We've established the macro range above us right now is actually up here at 47.5k. It's pretty far away still. We've established that now we're in kind of this new kind of zone here, this new range we haven't been in before. Now, I'm actually growing a little bit cautious on Bitcoin currently because I think there is a decent chance that a correction could actually stem from something like 42k. I've already made myself very clear. I think it's possible it goes up to 48k. That would be the highest I think it's possible to go to. But I think this 42k correction idea is not completely something that can be ruled out at this point in time. If we're looking at short term, then we'll move through to medium term. Short term analysis tells us very clearly that Bitcoin, of course, has rallied upwards massively, but now it's finding resistance here at 42k. 42k is a horizontal resistance observed visually. It marked the peak, for example, back here in January 2021. It marked the peak over here in July 2021. And also it marked a few peaks and troughs throughout the 2022 and late 2021 market. It's not major by any means. It's certainly a relatively minor resistance zone, but it is one that we've rejected from on the daily candle just yesterday. So this daily candle proves that throughout the last 3 years on Bitcoin, this minor zone is still relevant because we've rejected from it, obviously. Yes, we did see a wick above it. If we're looking at hourly chart, we saw a wick above it, but ultimately now on the hourly chart, we're seeing a double top at around 42k exactly. So this is a relevant resistance zone that we need to be watching. I'm not really sitting here saying it's not going to break to the upside. As I said, I think it's possible we go to 48k on this move. It's very hard to predict a top of a move that has moved up 73% with no correction on 7 consecutive weekly candle closes. To pinpoint precise where that move is going to top out, especially when it's driven by an ETF narrative that is out of my control, is very difficult to do. I hope you can understand and have sympathy for that. But I'm simply saying that given the short-term TA, we are at resistance now, and the immediate-term effects of this move are likely over. Moving into longer term, if we look at something like the weekly chart, we know we've done very good things like break above the ascending channel formation in the price chart here, but let's delete everything from the weekly chart perspective. Let's look at this fresh. Where are we rejecting from now on the RSI? Where are we testing on the RSI? We're testing this 79 level on the RSI weekly chart. Okay, when did we last test that level? We tested that level last in 2019 at the same point in the cycle that we are in now, just before the halving. What did we do on the RSI in terms of structure around the time we tested that level? We had an ascending support line on the RSI that after the retest was broken to the downside, and we saw significant correction because of that. What are we doing right now? We have an ascending support level in the RSI. We're retesting that resistance level. If we're going to follow 2019, we will reject from this level and see significant correction downwards because of that. That is a plausible scenario. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it's a trend because it's not. It's an observation of what's happened in the past at a previous time in the cycle that is similar to where we are now, and it is a plausible scenario. So I think that in addition to the brief resistance we're finding at 42k, in addition to this chart as well, which is very important, okay, perhaps indicates that right now is not the time, obviously, I think it's very obvious, even by not doing this analysis, but it's certainly obvious by doing this analysis, to be diving into Bitcoin longs at 100x leverage, or even potentially even buying Bitcoin. We're looking at the monthly chart, baseline on the Ichimoku cloud, okay? This is the baseline on the Ichimoku cloud on the monthly chart. I've deleted everything else. We can see it's been very important in determining Bitcoin's macro shifts, whether it be a bull market or bear market trend, held for support throughout the entirety of 2017. Once we lost it, we saw the bear market continue. We rejected from it, very, very importantly, in 2019, and we saw a correction from there at the same time that we rejected from the weekly RSI level. And also throughout 2021, it's been very important as well. The fact of the matter is we are reaching the baseline on the Ichimoku cloud, which has been a very good historical dividing line between bull market and bear market phases. We've only ever really been above this level during bull markets. We've only ever really been below it during cyclical bear markets. Right now, we're testing it for the first time since we lost it in 2022. Okay, and we're right on top of it. It's sitting at 42k. And if we're going to follow 2019, which is what it could be observed on the weekly chart we just looked at, and if we're going to follow 2019 here as well, we will be seeing potentially a strong wick above this Ichimoku cloud baseline to something like 48k, but then a rejection on multiple monthly candles downwards and a significant correction on Bitcoin before moving upwards after the halving and towards mid-2024 to start the bull market. That is what this chart suggests, if we're using the last cycle as a point of evidence. So my whole kind of fundamental argument on Bitcoin today, the reason I'm even making this video, because I like concluding videos, right? I like having a solid point to the videos I make. My whole argument is this. Bitcoin is doing amazing things. 7 weekly candles in a row in green, 73% gains for the upside without correction. Excellent, superb. We've broken above 2 macro resistance levels without any correction at all. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. But we are now running into short-term weakness, and this weakness is something that's been reflected on things like the volume for a long period of time now. We're running into this weakness. We're running into exhaustion. We're testing a new resistance level at 42k. That resistance level is potentially backed up by a monthly chart level that's been very important throughout the entire lifespan of Bitcoin. It's also potentially backed up by the RSI that led to the rejection at the same part of the cycle we're in now in 2019. And in saying all of these things, I'm still very much open to the idea of 48k on Bitcoin before a correction, because I think that we can see, just like we saw in 2019, a wick to the upside before closing below this level. But I'm certainly also considering the fact and more kind of supporting the fact that a correction will come before the halving. And if it's going to come, it will likely come shortly. And I think that we're approaching a level of bullishness on Bitcoin that is potentially unsustainable, and potentially saying that, well, most of the people who would have bought Bitcoin have already bought Bitcoin, and this move is probably driven very much by a fundamental event that is expected, the ETF approval. And I just don't think right now, for all the reasons I've listed, is a time to buy Bitcoin from a technical perspective and from a logical perspective. We've got a situation in which my channel, which is, I would say, to be honest with you, yes, I'm cyclically bullish. Yes, we've got an average price of Bitcoin down at 21k, of course. Even my channel, which is cyclically bullish, yes, of course, I'm cyclically bullish, but I've been very, very hesitant to jump into buys on this rally, because I've understood the rally itself is not optimal for buying. Even that, a channel that's kind of saying, okay, let's be cautious here. We've got 57% of the audience saying we're going to reach 48k by the end of the month, even on this channel. So it's a very surprising result, and it perhaps suggests that greed is overtaking the market a little bit now, which is not surprising considering the velocity to the move to the upside we've seen. So I'm just kind of advocating for kind of mindfulness of that greed. Monitor your greed. Monitor why you're buying right now. I'm not particularly against buying. I'm just saying that perhaps your buying right now is not actually driven by the strongest charting evidence we have available, or very concrete charting evidence. Perhaps it's driven by your emotions. That's what I'm saying. And for that reason, I'll be refraining from buying in this area. I don't think it's optimal from a logical perspective or a charting perspective. I've mentioned my points on that in the last 2 videos. I've mentioned again today. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Please stick around for these advertisements here. Bingx and Bitget exchange, both are very good exchanges. If you're looking for a new exchange, these ones will suit you very well. The Bingx exchange is a global non-KYC exchange, and Bitget is a global KYC exchange where you can sign up from anywhere in the world except for the USA on Bitget, and anywhere in the world in general on Bingx. Both of the referral links are in the description below. They've never been hacked. They've got extremely low trading fees. They've got protection funds in case they get hacked. Literally everything you need on exchanges on here. My referral links give you exclusive rewards and discounts. It helps my channel and it helps you as well by getting 15% trading fee discounts for life. Crypto Academy. Become a Yet to Trader 10-unit course will teach you how to trade. It's literally in the name. The title says become a trader. So if you do this course, ideally you'll become a proficient and profitable trader in the market. All the information about this course is on the website, including the contact details. I made this course in collaboration with Megawell Crypto. Check it out. And then finally, the VIP group. We have a VIP group on Telegram, which is a paid membership group that we trade altcoins on sub-daily. We've posted 2 separate altcoin trading signals today. We've had a very good week on VIP and a very good month, and in fact, a very good year. We've got all of our trading results on this PDF document, fully transparent, with our running win rate of 80.58% on our VIP posted trades. 14-day free trials available, and also payment information on this Telegram group. Check it out. It's all below. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in a couple of days.